Earthlings, how you doing today? Josh Poet with you, First Contact Radio. Welcome to the show. Alright, let's start things off with our dream spell for today. Today we are a yellow day. The color is yellow. Yellow is the color of ripening. It's called the yellow spectral seed is the name of the day. Now we're at the spectral tone, which is tone number 11. And remember, this is one of those days where the daykin and the guide are the same. And again, the way you can tell is because of what the tone is. When the tone is a 1, a 6, or an 11, then the guide and the daykin are exactly the same like they are today. And that is the seed. And the seed is all about flowering. The tone for today, the tone number 11, is called the spectral tone of liberation. It's about dissolution. It's like when you take sugar and you put sugar in a glass of water. The sugar dissolves and all of the water becomes sweet. So it becomes a bit more. It dissolves into it. Sort of like when Obi-Wan Kenobi was killed, but he became even bigger than he was because he was now more embedded in the Force. Alright? So there you have it. That's our dream spell for today. Actually, let me give you the phrase. The phrase for today is I dissolve in order to target, releasing awareness. I seal the input of flowering with the spectral tone of liberation. I am guided by my own power doubled. And on the Gregorian calendar, it is Tuesday, October 4th, 2011. Alright, now we're all caught up with that information. Dirk Bradshaw is with us again today, and he's continuing his story from yesterday, which was about things falling from the sky, namely satellites and that kind of stuff. So he's continuing on with part 2 of his special about things that fall from the sky. Dirk, over to you.
Hey there, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is time for the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. I am Dirk Bradshaw. And tonight, well, last time it was a 6-ton defunct NASA satellite that plunged to Earth, landing in a remote location of the southern Pacific Ocean. This time, it's a spent 2.4-ton German satellite that space officials say can crash to Earth anywhere from Canada to South America, pretty much where I live. Officials say that they expect it to fall sometime in late October or early November. The satellite made its last observations before being turned off in February 12th of 1999. Now, the dead satellite is finally feeling the tug of Earth's gravitational field. As Isaac Newton observed centuries ago, what goes up most definitely must come down. That's tonight on the Cosmic News. Stay tuned. You're really going to want to know this.
Flying high above the planet Earth, this is the Cosmic News with
Another potential method of deflecting NEOs is the use of a gravity tractor. This is a spacecraft that would use only the tiny force of its own gravitational pull to slowly drag an asteroid off of its orbit. Far safer and less controversial than a nuclear blast, this could be an ideal method for moving hazardous objects into safer orbits. It's also something we could do right now. EADS Astrium, a European aerospace engineering company, already has a design for a gravity tractor spacecraft that could be built using today's technology. Now that engineers are designing real spacecraft capable of preventing impacts from average-sized NEOs, questions of responsibility have arisen. Who's responsible for, and who will pay for missions to stop impacts from space?
The responsibility for dealing with an impactor is one of the issues that we hope to begin to discuss more now. I know there's work going on at the United Nations to develop some kind of a protocol for making a decision like that. I think the general view of anybody on the planet would be that a strike anywhere is bad for everyone.
No one is responsible for dealing with asteroid hazard. It's only in the last 20 years that we've even realized there is a hazard, and it's been mostly scientists, people like NASA, who have studied it, but NASA doesn't have the responsibility for defending us. So there is no system. That's why what's so valuable, what the Association of Space Explorers and Rusty Schweickart have done to begin to raise the consciousness through the UN that there might be real important decisions that would have to be made internationally.
At the moment, there really is no one who's responsible for dealing with NEOs in the sense of if we find one with our address on it, that they're responsible to do something. Not only in the United States, but in fact nowhere in the world is there responsibility to take action to protect the public from the hazards of an impact.
If an asteroid with the potential to cause great damage were heading for a third world area where the people there had no capability, I think there would be a certain responsibility, but it has to be responsibility. It has to be a responsible act. You don't want to go out there, say, with a nuclear weapon and blow it up so that all the crumbs then still land in the middle of Africa or something. It may not be helpful.
Some entity of government in each country, actually, or at least in the spacefaring nations, has to be assigned the responsibility. Until there's an assignment of responsibility by, in the United States, the Congress and the President, nothing will happen because you don't get money to do something you're not authorized to do. So authorization or an assignment of responsibility is the first step. Once an agency like NASA or anyone else is assigned the responsibility, then the first thing they have to do is start thinking about it. I mean, right now, the brightest minds in NASA have been thinking about the discovery process, but not about what you do about it if you find one coming at you. And so the first thing that has to happen is a bunch of bright people have to start thinking creatively about how do you address this challenge. Now, can it be done? Absolutely. And a lot of my organization, the B612 Foundation, and others have been thinking about this, but we're not part of the government, and we've been trying to beat on the Congress and the administration and NASA to do the work that, unfortunately, at the moment is being done outside government.
Perhaps the most debated issue in planetary defense is the use of nuclear devices as a prevention technique. They could be used to either vaporize or deflect an incoming NEO, but is the use of such devices justifiable?
At the moment, we do not have a complete inventory of all of the objects that are dangerous. But the very largest of those objects, if we found one coming at us today, would require a nuclear device in order to deflect it.
In certain cases, we don't have a choice. We get above a certain size, we really don't have a choice but to use a nuclear explosive, and the primary reason is that you can deliver more energy to an object using an explosive device of that type than you can by any other means.
I can't think of any reason we would ever need to use a nuclear weapon. If there is a reason, fine. We have more nuclear weapons than we need right now on Earth, and we might get rid of a few. But that, to me, is a difficult thing to justify because we don't have enough knowledge of what the effect of a nuclear weapon would be.
It's something that we will always need to have around, I believe, because there'll be objects big enough that are so big we don't have a choice but to use them.
It's only the very largest objects that would require a nuclear device to deflect them. And those very largest objects are very, very infrequent compared with the smaller objects, which can use non-nuclear deflection and are much more likely to occur. So we cannot today rule out the possibility that we would have to use nuclear, but it's extremely improbable. The probability is about 98% that if we realize a threat, we could deal with it with a non-nuclear device.
Today, there's a lot of confusion over the potential risks we all face from NEOs. But is public awareness important? Should we be worried?
Public awareness is critical, and we've come very, very far. 10 years ago, we were still talking about a giggle factor, that this was not taken seriously. Now I think it is. But we still don't have a command and control system in place to translate that public awareness into any sort of decision-making.
Like any risk, you want people to be educated. You want people to understand the nature of the risk. What should we do about it? How active should we be? It makes sense that the first thing we want to do is characterize the risk, and the best way to do that is observational. Do the surveys, keep track of them.
I don't think anyone should worry about asteroids, but we should be conscious of it. because especially with the larger ones, it is the greatest potential long-term threat we know of. There's nothing else that could wipe out civilization or even humanity that we know about except an asteroid.
No, we don't have to be so concerned, and as time goes on, we can become less and less concerned.
We can sort of begin to put out of our minds the film Deep Impact now. So we put out the film Armageddon, that went ages ago, and now Deep Impact's also on the way, which is good.
Interestingly, it is about comparable to the risk in all but the Middle East of dying in a terrorist act. And so we worry a great deal about that. And so you can't just dismiss it and say, well, nobody worries about getting on a merry-go-round, yet people do die by falling off of them. I can't answer the question, should you worry or shouldn't you worry? It's up to you. But that's about what the risk is. It's in that range.
The more we know about these and know where they are, the less likely we are to get hit by one of them. And so that's a very direct way of affecting how humans are, because if we do get hit by one, that could really substantially change our way of life. And that's something we have an opportunity to do something about now, whereas the dinosaurs did not. We simply don't want to go the way of the dinosaurs.
How can students with an interest in NEO science and planetary defense get involved?
We are organizing the first Future of Planetary Defense Conference in Bucharest, Romania, 2011. It would be basically a one-day conference before the second Planetary Defense Conference at the same venue, and it would be a panel of young experts and few senior experts that would be in charge of the one-day conference. So please get in touch with us and contribute to protecting the Earth.
No human has ever visited a near-Earth asteroid or a comet, but it's possible that we one day will. Let's listen to what the experts think it might be like to stand on one.
I think it'd be less dramatic than we would sort of imagine. Less like the movies, more like a rough collection of rocks. Because in reality it's probably formed simply by spinning and held together a lot by spinning. So what looks like one solid rock from a distance, when you get close up, in fact will not be.
It would be like standing on top of a mountain, but instead of seeing distant mountains or sea or wherever you are, you would just see dark space and stars.
If you try to leave a footprint, probably just, either you just like punch straight through, or it depends on how hard you hit the asteroid.
Interestingly, as we go to some very small sized, in the 100-meter size range, some of them are spinning so rapidly that the centrifugal force of the spin, like riding a merry-go-round, is actually stronger than the gravity, and you would literally fly off the surface.
It would be very hard to stand. You have to hold onto something because their gravity is much smaller. If you've seen movies of astronauts on the moon, they can jump very high because gravity on the moon is only 1/6 of gravity on Earth. And it goes with the size of the object. So those people standing on asteroids, they could just do a little kick, even like they're trying to kick a soccer ball, and they could eject themselves off that object. So they have to hold really tight on it.
We don't even talk about a spacecraft landing on NEO. We talk about docking because the gravity is so little. So, it'd be kind of fun, I suppose. You could just float over it.
No spacecraft has yet been sent to an NEO in the name of planetary defense, but several have been sent to conduct scientific studies. As it happens, NEOs can provide us with information about the solar system and possibly even the origins of life.
NEOs are the leftover materials from the solar system. They're the things that the planets were made of. So they're very interesting to scientists.
Looking at the material of near-Earth asteroids, we can learn about what the Earth is either was made of originally, or what, for example, old material in the center of the Earth would still be like today.
One of their theories is that life may have originated on Mars, and which an asteroid then impacted Mars and threw up a load of fragments, which then travelled to Earth in meteorites and then landed on the Earth and infected Earth with life. It could have happened actually the other way around, that life began on the Earth, an asteroid smashed into the Earth, and then transfers life to Mars.
Mining asteroids is currently the realm of science fiction, but is it possible?
If an NEA comes suitably close to the Earth, you can actually nudge it a bit and then actually put it into orbit about the Earth, place it anywhere you want. So I think most people will probably want to put it fairly close to the Earth, but far enough away that it doesn't interfere with any of the satellites orbiting Earth. I think if it's like further away than the Moon, then it'd be a bit too difficult to get to.
I think Earth is already overcrowded. We need to move on to other planets. Okay, for now we can talk about Mars, but then, come on, let's be realistic. We're not going to stop at Mars. We're going to go to another planet. Jupiter being a gas giant, we're not going to go there. And moving to any of the Jupiter's moon, I think, is going to be very difficult as well because of the huge magnetic field, very powerful magnetic field of Jupiter. It irradiates anything. You can just go on to the comets, not just asteroids. Go on to the comets, mine them, continue to other solar systems.
Oh, man, I can't believe it's over. Where does the time go? Well, I see the fat lady's off the stage. She's looking right at me. It's time for me to go put her to bed. I hate goodbyes. So instead I'm going to say, until we meet again, I'm Dirk Bradshaw for the Cosmic News. Wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of people.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing. What they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. One if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News for today. We're going to start off. Our first story is coming to us from Japan. And is this the satellite that we see here? Well, we're going to find out right now. Let's check this out. Now, you see the streak coming through the sky. Obviously, something is falling. It is not flying upwards. It is falling downward. The question is, what is it? Is this the UARS satellite that is falling? And as you can see, it gets down here. Now what's interesting is, it gets down, you got the 3 lights in front of it. I mean, this could all be the same object, just on fire. And obviously it's getting closer and closer, which is getting more of a tail. And I think that winds down. Alright, there you have it. That's the sighting in Japan, possibly the satellite. Now our next sighting here takes us to Canada, Thunder Bay, Ontario, on the 27th. Says, observed over a tree farm in Thunder Bay, Ontario. The object, estimated to be less than 1 kilometer away, appeared in the sky out of nowhere, moved slowly to the right and then back to the left, hovered, then began to come closer, started to run at the end of the video, saw the object, began to descend, and lost sight after went below the tree line. No sound from the object. Dark area on the horizon of the video is the tree line. We are standing at the front left corner of the field, and the farm is a grid separated by a row of trees. Object appears in the northwest. Okay, let's check this out. Alright, let's see what we got here. Okay, we got a subject right there in the middle of the screen, single white light. Let's see if this now as they zoom in, it takes on a bit of a different type of a shape as they're zooming in, going from the round to actually something a bit more diamond or UFO shape as you close in. I guess it's once you get past that halo effect. Alright, and you can see the lights are a little bit different now. Now we got some green lights in there with the red lights. And now look at it, there's like 1, 2, 3 series of lights on it. And they go from being bright to dimming, and very fascinating. Alright, there you go. You saw it right here. Now our next sighting comes to us from the Scott Waring blogspot.com. This is a UFO over the Czech Republic on October 3rd. The witness states the UFO, which I managed to photograph by accident at 14:54 p.m. to test my camera out the window in our apartment at Mimone. Alright, this is the image he's talking about right here. And he took this picture, didn't mean to, but this is what he got. And let's look at his video right here. Alright, these are a series of still shots, not video. And you can see there's the object in question. Definitely a circular object. And of course it seems to be run through a couple different filters here to make sure it is an object that is actually there on the screen and not just a lens flare or that nature. And by all accounts it does look like there is something actually there. Alright. Alright, for those of you who are wondering, when you see these UFO videos and then you see different filters on them and you wonder what that is all about, it is in order to be able to tell if the object is a real object or if it's just maybe a blur or maybe a lens flare, something of that nature. So you run it through different types of filters because when you pull out certain colors, if it was a glitch or something that was part of that color layer, then it's going to be gone. So when you pull out different colors, you add different filters and apply things, you can actually find out if it is an object that is there, because if it's an object, the object will continue to stay there, and no matter what filter you put over it, it will still continue to remain in the image itself, and so you'll be able to know that it actually is an object and not just some sort of anomaly, a glare, or something of that nature. And that's one way to do it. And there's a lot of different types of filters that you can use. And you'll notice more and more if you pay attention, with all these videos, you'll see a lot of this type of thing, a lot of filters being used, a lot of stuff on the moon and the sun, especially when you see the things from Soho. There's a variety of different filters. You got the one which is red, you got blue, then you got that gray, grainy filter. Just different ways to look at these objects, because you want to be able to look at it from different perspectives and not just take one angle or one perspective and think that's the whole answer, because it might not be. Now, our last of our UFO news today is Chile, and this is a compilation of sightings that have taken place in Chile over the course of this last year.
En Santiago, dos jóvenes que estudian comunicación audiovisual mostraron y captaron interesantes imágenes desde un edificio, fenómeno que se suma a la oleada de reportes provenientes desde la provincia de Huasco. El periodista Rodrigo Ugarte nos entrega los detalles.
Están constantemente cambiando de forma y de colores. Esto no lo estamos fabricando, estamos grabando desde el centro de Santiago.
Alberto Neto y su amigo Rodrigo se encontraban en un 19º piso en un edificio del centro de Santiago cuando advirtieron que una luz anaranjada circundaba las montañas cordilleranas del sector oriente de Santiago. Al principio no le dieron mayor importancia, pero luego comenzaron a aparecer otras esferas luminosas que parecían fundirse, cambiar de forma y color y moverse a una velocidad vertiginosa. Tomaron su cámara semiprofesional y comenzaron el registro.
Aparece una segunda luz y después una tercera, una cuarta, empieza a hacer formas raras, empieza a hacer triángulo, después incluso es un rombo. Fuimos capaces de ver con la cámara que tenemos acá, hicimos un zoom y uno de los luces se multiplicó como por 3 y empezó a ser como un tagadá y fue como de verdad necesitamos llamar a gente, empezaron a llegar amigos, no sé, yo estoy alucinado en verdad. Es muy fuerte lo que acabamos de ver.
Para estos jóvenes, evidentemente no se trataba de autos ni motos. El cambio de forma y posiciones, el que aparecieran de la nada en una zona en la que no hay caminos, los hizo desistir de esa idea.
Miren la de allá, esos tres de ahí.
Se dividió en tres. Y mira la potencia con las luces de abajo de la ciudad.
Eso no es un auto. No. Claramente que no es un auto.
Luego de más de una hora de destellos y erráticos movimientos, las luces simplemente se apagaron. Sobre esos despoblados cerros fueron captadas las luces, imágenes que ya están siendo analizadas por los expertos. Pero Chile entero es un país rico en casuística ovni. De hecho, en la región de Atacama se han concentrado una serie de avistamientos en los últimos meses, lo que motivó nuestra visita a la zona. Quizás la zona del país donde se han reportado más avistamientos de ovnis en lo que va corrido del año es Vallenar y sus alrededores. Como nunca, sus habitantes han grabado y fotografiado luces que surcan sus cielos, describiendo trayectorias y velocidades inusuales para aeronaves terrestres, según sus relatos.
Muy bajo. Va dentro de la atmósfera, no está afuera.
Víctor Humérez hace algún tiempo tomó una foto en la que aparece un objeto discoidal que jamás vio a simple vista. Un ovni fantasma, dirían los ufólogos. Pero hace algunos meses, don Víctor tuvo la oportunidad de ver un objeto destellante con sus propios ojos. Tomó su cámara y logró 2 claras fotografías.
Y ese aparece de sur a norte, muy rápido, 2 o 3 veces el lucero, muy rápido, y aproximadamente al llegar a la mitad del sector Los Toyos, al parecer se desaceleró y se apagó.
Testimonios como este motivaron al alcalde de Vallenar a invitar a ufólogos a la zona. Durante 2 días se reunieron para analizar la evidencia y enseñar a la gente a discernir entre fenómenos conocidos y hechos no convencionales.
Porque creo que no es un hecho aislado, ya los avistamientos no son fortuitos, los avistamientos no son hechos en la cual pasan desapercibidos para la comunidad, sino que son hechos reales y por eso que nace esta necesidad de que en esta provincia del Huasco tengamos el primer encuentro de ufología a nivel nacional.
La evidencia recogida en Vallenar por los ufólogos y los constantes avistamientos registrados en Chile y en todas partes del mundo motivaron la creación de un movimiento social surgido en Estados Unidos. Le que llaman exopolítica, y su objetivo es presionar a los gobiernos y la ciencia para que desclasifiquen información y tomen seriamente el fenómeno ovni como materia de estudio. Chile ya tiene varios seguidores.
Lo que se persigue es generar una conciencia social, educacional, que integre la realidad extraterrestre como un hecho efectivo. Y eso en base al cúmulo de evidencias, de reportes, testimonios oficiales y extraoficiales que hay.
Los ovnis y la vida extraterrestre es sin duda uno de los temas más controversiales de nuestro tiempo. Y si solo nos limitamos a la estadística de reportes, Chile es un país privilegiado para intentar capturar la verdad de un fenómeno apasionante.
All right, there you go. Nice, good compilation and good insight of what's going on with Chile and the UFO sightings. That's our UFO report for today. Jump away for about a minute. I'll be right back. This is Confirm or Deny.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. Oh, shit.
Bases that are secretive. We're not supposed to know where they come from or where they go. And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives?
Alright, I'm back, everybody. I'm back. Alright, let's continue on with things here. We're going to start off with space weather. Space weather. Alright, our solar wind today is moving at 365 kilometers per second. Let's go down here. Let's look at our KP index. KP index equals quiet with a 24-hour max of 0. So we just have quiet. We don't even have a 0 for today, but a 0 expected within the next 24 hours. So that's good that things are quiet. And we only have a 20% chance, 15% chance actually, of some sort of M-class flare, and an X-class flare only 5%. 1% within that range, and really low as far as having some sort of geomagnetic storm today. Alright, there's our space weather for today. And we've nothing new up here. It says China's first space station, an 8.5-ton experimental module named Tiangong-1, which stands for Heavenly Palace 1, is flying over the United States this week. Last night, Justin Cowart saw it gliding over Carbondale, Illinois. At first it was a little difficult to pick out in the moonlight, but the space station became a little brighter as it rose in the sky. I'd say it held a fairly steady magnitude of plus 1.5 with no large change in brightness. So there you go. And of course we all saw the comet the other day that flew into the sun. Sun diving comet. Alright, so there you go. Space weather. Now, you heard the report that Dirk gave yesterday and today was about objects in the sky. We've been talking about these, certainly lots of objects. Elenin is one of them that seems to have disappeared, which is quite interesting because there was so much hype around Elenin coming in, what it was going to be, what it was possibly going to do, and so far we have not felt those effects. Again, I keep going back to the time of the 11th of March, because during that time we were told that the effect of the Japan earthquake was caused by the effect of Elenin and its alignment that it had with the sun and with the earth. However, at that point in time, Elenin was on the backside of the sun, not the same side as the earth. Well, just recently, No, we don't know exactly the date because within this window of time of this last 2 weeks, Elenin did cross to a point where it was in alignment on this side of the sun with both the Earth and the sun. And if there was an earthquake or heavy natural disaster problems that went on when it was in alignment before, we were told to expect that this alignment would also cause further problems, but they could be even worse because the planet is even closer. That didn't happen. So what went on actually then in March? Was Elenin really to blame for the earthquake that took place in Japan, or was it something a bit more sinister at work? And that's where the HARP comes into the story, because the readings on the HARP graph do show that there was activity that day. If you're at the website firstcontactradio.com, on the right hand side there is a link there that will show you all of the HARP readings for around that day coming off the magnetometer up there in Alaska. So you'll be able to read those and check it out and see that, you know, there was something going on. So maybe it wasn't Elenin. Maybe this whole story of Elenin is just a smokescreen for something else going on. Or maybe there is something going on, and these stories of the satellites falling from the sky are the cover for that. Because it is interesting that all these years go by, we don't hear stories of satellites falling from the sky as much as we've heard now. And now in a short period of time, satellites keep falling. Why are they falling? Is there something out there that is causing them to fall? Or are we being told that they're falling so that we don't worry about comets or asteroids coming down here, and we're told that there's something else? Lots and lots to think about. Now this story here comes to us from physorg.com, right? physorg.com says spinning hourglass object may be the first of many to be discovered in the Kuiper Belt. The bizarre hourglass-shaped Kuiper Belt object 2001 QG 298 spins round like a propeller as it orbits the sun. According to an astronomer from Queen's University Belfast, the discovery that the spinning object is tilted at nearly 90 degrees to the ecliptic plane is surprising and suggests that this type of object could be very common in the Kuiper Belt. The finding will be presented by Dr. Pedro Lacerda at the joint meeting of the European Planetary Science Congress and the Division for Planetary Sciences in Nantes, France on the 3rd of October 2011. Goes on to say the Kuiper Belt objects orbit the sun beyond Neptune and are the best preserved leftovers of the formation of the planets. 2001 QG 298 is a remarkable KBO made up from two components that orbit each other very closely, possibly touching. Imagine that you could glue two eggs together tip to tip. That's approximately the shape of the object. 2001 QG 298. It looks a bit like an hourglass, said Larcetta. The strange shape was uncovered by Dr. Scott Shepard and Professor David Jewett in 2004. They noticed that the object's apparent brightness periodically tripled every 7 hours or so. And here's a little video just to kind of give us an example of what's going on. So you can see how the object does maneuver. Okay. There you go. So pretty exciting, isn't it? Just watching how that thing rotates around. So there's something to keep our eye on. See if we hear about this again at any time from our astronomers. All right. Now moving right along. Let's do something with Ron Paul. We haven't talked to about Ron Paul in a couple days. We can't let that go on much further. So without further ado, this is Ron Paul's weekly talk, and this is talking about the Fed, which Ron Paul does so well. Here we go.
Ron Paul, weekly update for October 3rd. Last week, the Federal Reserve began the second incarnation of Operation Twist, an attempt to drive down interest rates by purchasing long-term Treasury debt and selling short-term debt. This is just the latest instance of the central bank desperately flailing around, doing something merely for the sake of doing something. Fed officials still do not understand or admit that the Fed itself caused the financial crisis by driving interest rates too low and relentlessly expanding the money supply. Thus, this latest action will just exacerbate the problem. Markets, however, understand that the Fed has failed and has no clue what it is doing. This is why markets went into a tailspin after the Fed's new strategy was announced. Stock, bonds, and commodities dropped in price while the financial press wondered whether this worldwide sell-off meant that the entire system was collapsing. Not since 2008 had there been such a dramatic drop across so many different sectors of the market. Because of continued rising inflation and the Federal Reserve's suppression of interest rates, investing in traditional safe havens such as savings accounts, mutual funds, and treasury bonds has become unprofitable. Lots of money is moving through the system seeking a return on investments or at least some measure of safety, as increasingly desperate investors move their funds around in search of long-term profits. Until the Fed stops its monetary intervention and allows interest rates to be set by the free market, investors will move their money in a volatile manner. They will invest in commodities and stocks while prices swings upward, but will flee to bonds and cash at the first sign of a turn. The uncertainty caused by the Fed does help some people, professional traders on Wall Street, for example. Increased volatility and huge price swings means more opportunities for profit as sophisticated electronic trading programs can buy and sell huge positions within a fraction of a second of a major market movement. The small businessmen are misled by the artificially low interest rates into making unwise investments, and those whose jobs vanish when the Federal Reserve's latest bubble pops suffer. Without the knowledge or ability to move with the markets or diversify overseas, average Americans see their savings stagnate or depreciate along with their hopes and dreams for a better tomorrow. The only way to return to a sound economy is for the Federal Reserve to cease and desist its monetary manipulation and allow interest rates to be determined by markets, just as the price of goods, services, and labor should be determined by markets. Everything the Fed is doing by pumping money into the economy benefits only the insolvent, too big to fail banks. Low interest rates encourage consumers to take on more debt, meaning more profits for the banks issuing those loans. Purchasing mortgage-backed security, as the Fed has done, keeps housing prices inflated, helping the banks who have non-performing mortgages on their books. However, it hurts consumers who continue to be priced out of the housing market. In order to maintain a decent standard of living for the American people and to restore the vibrancy of the U.S. economy, it's time to end the Fed. Thanks for calling this update. A new update is placed on this number, 888-322-1414 every Monday. The written text can be found on my website, www.house.gov/Paul, under the heading Texas Straight Talk. Thanks for calling.
All right, very good. The weekly message from Dr. Paul. Now, the Occupy the Fed is very important. And, ending the Fed is very important because they've gotten out of control. Now, you've heard about this Occupy Wall Street that's going on. It's been a bit crazy. The mainstream media is certainly downplaying or misrepresenting what's really going on out there. There are people that are there because they're upset with the way that Wall Street and the Federal Reserve has turned its back on people over so many years and actually has ripped people off of their life savings, of their investments, on and on. You know the stories. So people have gathered together, but now the mainstream media and politicians, they're jumping in there and they're trying to muddy the waters, make you think that this is all about them. This is about their politics, and so Obama's got some sort of shenanigans planned. at these different events to make you think that this is a democratic thing that's going on. That's not the case. Obama's just like all of them, so don't listen to a word that he says. If you're still listening to him at this point in time of all that he hasn't done that he said he was going to do, then you've got nobody to blame but yourself for the failures that go on, because he's inept. He shouldn't be the president. He can't complete the tasks at hand. Regardless of what he says, his track record speaks for itself. And so this Occupy Wall Street has nothing to do with their political agenda. It doesn't have anything to do with capitalism either. That was the nonsense that came out. Michael Moore went out there, and, you know, he's done some good things. His Fahrenheit 9/11 movie, really good. Came out, opened a lot of people's eyes. Bowling for Columbine, really good. Opened a lot of people's eyes. Lately, some of these things that he's doing where he's getting into the capitalism and all this other stuff, I'm not quite certain where he's going with all of that. And he went out there and talked about this whole ending capitalism thing. And, you know, that's part of the problem. But the Fed is where all this capitalism has originated from. So if you really want to get to the issue, you got to get to the real issue, which is the Fed. I want you to hear a bit of this story. This is coming out of RT about what is going on out there with Occupy Wall Street.
And earlier I spoke with Allison Kilkenny. She's been covering the Wall Street protests for The Nation. Here's what she had to say.
From what I gather from other reports and other journalists who I know were there, was that the protesters are claiming that the police escorted them actually onto the bridge, and they were never told at any point to turn around or to stop. Now, the NYPD directly contradicts that claim and says that they did tell the protesters that they were to stop. Someone, a captain, I believe, at some point used a bullhorn telling them to turn around. Now, what's curious about this is there's been video emerging online showing that indeed the protesters, or excuse me, the police either led the protesters across the bridge or were passively marching at the front of this group, leading them. At some point, a captain did use a bullhorn telling them that they would all be arrested, but it's unclear when that happened. The protesters say that a bullhorn, the first time a bullhorn appeared, wasn't until netting had already been pulled behind them, and there was no way for them to retreat. So we're, of course, hearing contradicting claims right now. The NYPD putting the burden on protesters, and the protesters that are saying that the NYPD actually led them across the bridge.
A lot of questions, and we don't know exactly how that's going to shake out, who's going to win in that PR war, but it's interesting that the Transport Workers Union is going to court to try to stop the city from forcing bus drivers to transport Wall Street protesters arrested by the NYPD. Of course, last week, this union voted to support the protesters. I'm curious if you think union support is going to be a turning point for this movement.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, and it's an exciting time for the movement, because the central criticism on Occupy Wall Street has been that, you know, they're scattered ideologically, they're not very organized, and unions are actually known for their organization and their ability to deploy tens of thousands of individuals in a very rapid manner. So this could address the central criticism that Occupy Wall Street has had directed at them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, the SEIU is getting involved, TWU, as you said. So October 5th is actually the big union involvement day. There's going to be a march, and we'll see what happens.
We will see what happens. Of course, unions are a large reason why we see so many protesters out on the streets in Europe and in other countries that have strong union labor movements. I'm curious, because you touched on the kind of key criticism of this movement, that it's disorganized and kind of lacks serious structure and policy demands. You've been covering this. I know you've talked to so many people out there. In the report that our reporter did, you had people comparing this to the Arab Spring, drawing inspiration from that. How do you see this movement?
Well, it's definitely not on the scale of the Arab Spring, of course. You know, Adbusters, originally when they put out the call for people to occupy Wall Street, were expecting 20,000 people to show up.
Right.
That didn't happen, right? We have, you know, 200 to 300 individuals who have been occupying Liberty Plaza for 16 days now, which in itself is a remarkable feat. But, you know, it is interesting. We definitely aren't seeing an Arab Spring movement right now, but that doesn't mean it's not going to get there. it does have the youth revolutionary spirit behind it. Although I don't want to just say that this is purely a youth-based movement. There are all different types of people in Liberty Plaza. But I do want to address the criticism from the mainstream media that, it's scattered ideologically. I said that. Mm-hmm. But when you speak to these protesters, there is a definite theme going. It is a criticism against Wall Street. It is an anti-corporatist message. They want to get the corporate money out of politics. That's the big message. So I'm reading time and time again that the media is saying that, we don't know why they're there. And in my mind, that's really lazy journalism, because if you go down there and you ask people, you do start to get this theme. It's not a democratic movement. I'm reading that a lot, too, that, these are angry liberals, jaded liberals. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of Ron Paul supporters there. Mm-hmm. And time again, I'm talking to them, and they're saying, we don't trust the Republicans, we don't trust the Democrats. I heard from a lot of people that they're very angry with Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. This really is an anti-establishment movement. And the media doesn't really know how to handle that, because it doesn't have a traditional hierarchy to it. It's a purely democratic movement. Mm-hmm. They vote on absolutely everything they do. So when the media shows up and they say, where are your leaders? Where are your demands? These are really the wrong questions. But it's really the only questions that the media know how to ask. Because the media is used to covering these sort of things like a horse race. Like, what politician are you going to throw your support behind? So when the people say, well, we're not going to support a politician, we don't support a party, and we don't have traditional leadership, that really blows the mainstream media's minds.
And I want to get...
All right, we're going to... The link is up there. You can watch the rest of it. Yeah, she's right. It does blow the mainstream media's mind. They don't know how to respond to situations like this because they're not used to asking these kind of questions. If they're talking and they don't have a teleprompter in front of them, they don't necessarily know what to say. This movement is a very important movement, and all that's really required is to ask, why are you here? And you get a variety of different answers. But the mainstream media, including Fox, because I know that there are those that don't include Fox in the mix. But here's how you can tell that Fox is mainstream. Is it one of the main stations that people listen to? Yes. Therefore, it is mainstream because it is one of the main stations people listen to. That's how you can determine it. Very simple way if you don't want to get all complicated and look in statistics and stuff. Just think about if it's the main one people watch, then it's mainstream. See how those things fit together? Main one, mainstream, easy fit. Okay, moving right along here. Now, because there is such a mixed up ideology going on out there, and the mainstream is painting it incorrectly, and there's not a lot of cohesiveness at this point in time, the message is getting really skewed on what it's all about. And it needs to be focused. Now, one thing that has been certain over the years is Alex Jones has continued to remain very focused about what he wants to do, and end the Fed is certainly one of those tasks. And so he is launching another movement, and I'm going to play this so you can hear this yourself. There we go.
First, let's get into some of the news items we've got here tonight. I have announced and launched a planned protest to occupy the Fed. Instead of just saying capitalism is evil and all companies that have stocks and bonds on the stock market are evil, which is obviously ridiculous, we're going after the big 6 mega banks that created the 1.5 quadrillion, that control our government, that have gotten the 27+ trillion in banker bailouts. We are going to start this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday occupying Federal Reserve banks across the country. There are only 12, and the head of Region 11 is Dallas. I'll be there Friday, 6 o'clock. I'm going to end the radio show and drive up from Austin. I'm going to demonstrate and point out the criminal activity and hope that people actually occupy it for a few weeks to draw media attention. Then I'm going to turn south and drive to Houston to their branch, and then over to San Antonio. So I'll be 6 p.m. Friday, Federal Reserve, Dallas. high noon at the Federal Reserve branch of the Dallas Reserve, which is even a bigger complex, down in Houston, Texas at high noon on Saturday. And then, of course, Sunday, we're going to be 10 a.m. to noon there in San Antonio at the Federal Reserve Branch Bank. And then as I turn north to drive back to Austin, I'm thinking about going to a Bank of America branch, but they're going to be closed then. So I think on Monday, we're going to go out to a local Bank of America branch who've been caught robo-signing and taking houses that they never even had a deed to and don't own. Houses bought in cash, paid for decades ago. They've been caught stealing them. And so we're going to be also going in and getting in the face of Bank of America here in Austin, Texas. And while we do this is leaderless resistance. You need to go out and demonstrate in other areas of the country as well. So Occupy Wall Street protesters are calling for totalitarian government, re-election of Obama. That article was the #1 story on the web Sunday and today because the Drudge Report made it the big giant banner link up there that this guy will save us. The individual totally bankrupt psychologically, morally. You're talking about a complete and total puppet of the globalist. And his answer is further bankrupt America and pay tens of trillions of dollars into the offshore big six mega banks. But the good news is Drudge Report and others linked to our story so that that giant fraud has been exposed. Continuing, Paul Watson had another article out today. Occupy Wall Street tax proposal is backed by Wall Street itself and goes through George Soros and the entire setup there. The good news is there was a meeting between Ron Paul, Ralph Nader, and Dennis Kucinich, and they agreed that they need to move towards ending the Fed and going towards the heart of the matter, not just demonizing free market and capitalism that we know is a whole hell of a lot better than what communism has basically delivered to the world. In summation, and we're going to cover it more tonight, but in summation here in the news section, the big mega elite have made their money through government-financed and authorized monopolies and through government welfare and corporate welfare and contracts. And they are pushing right now a movement towards fully turning America into a collectivist state where the big global mega banks sit offshore and are exempt from all the taxes that they levy on us through austerity. So if you are against this tyranny, I want to challenge all of you, no matter where you live in the United States. In fact, we could put that map back up that shows the 12 Federal Reserve banks. No matter where you live in this country, you're just a few hours, in some cases just a few minutes, away from the real criminals. And it's important that we go there with a demand that the power of the purse be given back to Congress, that the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 be overturned, and that Wall Street and the intercoterie that created all these derivatives be brought to justice and these debts be written off to Wall Street and the American people not be forced to pay. So if you want to get that article out to everybody, it's Occupy the Federal Reserve movement launched, going at the real establishment, not some rebellion against the tyrants led by the bankrupt puppet who's clearly blackmailed Barack Hussein, Obama, or Rick Perry or other such minions.
All right, very good, very good. Okay, Alex is on top of this, so there you go. We got a couple things going on, a couple of occupations taking place. You can find lots of information online about how to get support for these things. The links are up at our page, firstcontactradio.com, and check on the right-hand side, daily news. I know in the story the other day by Anonymous, there was some links in there of how, what was it? It wasn't Anonymous, it was occupyus.org, I believe. And you can go there and they'll help you with some support on what you can do to create a movement in your town. All right. Let's jump into our meditation for today. All right, start off by closing your eyes and relax. Let's let all of these troubles of the world, put them all aside for the moment because they're always there. We need to think about the ways that we can overcome these challenges. Think about the ways that we can move past the corruption and the lies and the fears. And the way we do this is with love and with light. Light shines bright into the darkness and illuminates the lies that hide there. And love sets us on the path of integrity and helps to keep truth shining bright and keeps those doubts away. So imagine yourself as you're walking along the path of life. Imagine first of all that your chakras are turned on. From the bottom of the spine, red, up above that, orange, below the rib cage, yellow, at the heart level, green, the throat chakra, blue, the third eye chakra, violet, and the crown chakra, indigo, and bright white as it connects above. And there you are with your protective aura all around you, flowing from inside, filling your body with this energy and then overflowing. So imagine yourself walking along with your protective aura activated, sending out love. Just imagine, like Johnny Appleseed, you reach into your pockets and grab a handful of seeds and throw them out into the world. But these are not just seeds to grow plants, but these are seeds of love, and throw them out there and watch how they change. Watch how the world goes from a dull color to a vibrant color when you throw seeds of love at it. Watch how the attitudes of people change from anger to love and peace once love is thrown their way. Watch how the doubts and the fears dissipate when love is thrown that way. And watch how evil destroys itself in the presence of love. Now, as you're walking along that path of life, and you're sending out all of these vibes and throwing out all of these seeds of love into the world, think right now what it is you want to accomplish in your life by the end of this week. Plant that seed in your mind and know that it is possible. All you need to do is believe. All you need to do is believe. Now let's just imagine sending this love all around the world. Imagine everybody else around the world sending love, and you're feeling that. Send the love down into the planet and then up into the cosmos. Give a little hello, how do you do to the space brothers and space sisters up there. Let them know that this is a planet of love. Now, last thing is just think a good thought for everybody around the world. Send everybody good wishes for today. And with that, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment. We'll do so on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Shake out your arms, shake out your legs. That is our show. That is our meditation for today. I hope that you have a good day today. Go out into the world and do something wonderful for yourself. Do something wonderful for others. Remember, we're all in this together. And I know there's a lot of craziness going on. You know there's a lot of craziness going on. But if we just keep focusing on the positive, we're all going to make it through it. This is all a test to see what we're really made of. And it's times like this that really has a person shining the brightest. Because this is where we have to shine the brightest. It's where our integrity is questioned, and it's very easy to go down the wrong path. It's much more challenging to go down the right one. So let's go down the right path. Let's use our integrity, and let's stand up for each other and make this world the place that we know it can be. For Dirk Bradshaw, my name's Josh Poet. I'll be back here tomorrow. Same time, same station. Till then, you have a great day, great evening. Talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.